Okay, guys.
I don't know, depending on the audience.
Okay, good. Good evening. Welcome to council, Monday, June 10th, 2019. Call the meeting to order at 7:01 p.m. And as always, we ask everybody to silence their mobile devices onto vibrate, please. Thank you much. And we always start off our meeting, and we're just discussing this municipal safety share, so whether we continue this, we'll discuss at council, or we get into some different type of scenario where you talk about good things happening in our community. But for now, we're going to continue with the safety share. Councillor Lake.
Thank you, Worship. Today's safety talk is on boating safety. Given that fishing season's open, it's probably a good one. So more people die in boating accidents every year than in airplane crashes or train wrecks, but a little common sense can make boating both enjoyable and safe. The 3 points they want to make are, one, probably the most common sense, is that alcohol and water still don't mix. 1/3 of boating deaths are alcohol related. Alcohol distorts a person's judgment no matter where they are, but that distortion is even greater on the water. The U.S. Coast Guard warns people about a condition called boater's fatigue, which means that the wind, noise, heat, and vibration of the boat all combine to wear you down when you're in the water. All of this is exacerbated by alcohol. Personal flotation devices matter. It's always a good idea for everyone on the boat to wear a Coast Guard approved life jacket, whether the boat is a large speedboat or a canoe, and whether you're a good swimmer or not. Wearing a life jacket is the law, and you could face stiff penalties for breaking it. And there are regulations that differ from state to province, but no matter what the regulations are, it's certainly good common sense to wear it for safety. And third, stay in touch. Before going out on a boat, let somebody on land know where you are going and about how long you'll be out. That way, if you do get into trouble, someone will have an idea of where to look for you. And if you're going out to be out of the water for a long time, it's a good idea to have a radio. Certainly, we live on the biggest freshwater lake in the world, which conditions change quickly. So giving somebody your route plan and when you're going to get back is certainly a great safety suggestion.
Good. Thank you for that. Okay. I have a motion here that council hereby accepts the, oh wait, I got any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Announcement for museum.
Councillor DeBouche has an announcement, so we'll go under the announcement 16. How's that? Okay. And I'm
Your
going to
Worship,
give
our delegation for tonight has been postponed.
your
to
delegation
a
is going to
further
be
date.
postponed, so not here for the boat club, marina club. Okay, and I think I should give you a verbal update on my attendance at the protest for the Caribou Recovery Plan, as well as the Moose Learning Session in Thunder Bay. So I'll give a quick verbal on that. So
Just add that under 11A, Your Worship.
Yeah.
You can provide that after
Sure,
your
okay.
municipal league.
I'll add under the
Okay.
municipal league. So anything else? Hearing none, we'll move on with a motion here to accept the agenda for tonight. The council hereby accepts the minutes of the regular meeting of council held, nope. Sorry, I had right here, yep. Council hereby accepts the agenda for Monday, June 10th, 2019, regular meeting of council as circular amended. Moved by Councilor Lake, second by Councilor Valens. Any questions? Hearing none, call question, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Any disclosure of interest? Hearing none, I have a motion here that council hereby accepts and adopts the minutes of the regular meeting of council are held on Monday, May 27, 2019, as circular amended. Moved by Councilor Valens, second by Councilor Lake. Any questions, errors, or omissions to those minutes? Hearing none, call question, all in favor? Carried, thank you. So no delegation, council report. Discussion has been regarding the limiting the single use of plastics within the town of Marathon. We'd asked for this to be brought back for discussion to start the process, and I think that the idea is, and it'll lead into the conversation that I had with the Thunder Bay District Municipal League and Dorian. I'll give you a highlight of that meeting, but I'd like looking for council's direction on this as well, so it gives us an opportunity to discuss it and see what our role is, how we go forward with this. So just some ideas, so anybody for comments on this? Councilor Lake?
Sure. I think you know, anybody who's been along the shore of Lake Superior knows that any piece of plastic that you drop on the ground finds its way to the lake. Anywhere you go along the lake, you see bits of plastic, you see discarded items. That's our watershed. It's our duty to take care of it. The federal government's clearly committed on some level to doing that. I think you're going to see it provincially. I think we have been good stewards of this place in lots of ways. We, you know, when the harbor was messed up, we put a plan in together, and we didn't always agree with how they did it, but we saw that cleanup. We've been ahead of the curve on recycling. I think we've cleaned up our landfill as best we can. We take good care of this place, and I think that's the next logical step, looking at the kind of global impact of plastics. So it feels, given our sort of commitment to, you know, doing everything from rain barrels to the composters we tried, investigating it and potentially getting rid of single-use plastics makes sense from my point of view.
Okay, Councillor Valens?
Yeah, as Councillor Lake mentioned, I fully support it myself too, especially with the federal government kind of moving in that direction. I just would like to see personally myself some consultation or conversation with the Chamber of Commerce and our local business community, just to see kind of how it will affect our vendors and our entrepreneurs and business owners in town.
Good point. Councillor Debuchy?
I think one of the first things we should kind of explore is ask administration to see about communities that have gone that way, about reducing either plastic bags and believe me, I think in the future, single-use bottles and packaging will be gone or will be on the block too. But I think it's important that we get a sense from administration or what other communities have done. Somebody must have implemented this along the way. I think the timelines, as Councillor Valance stated, to let the business community get rid of their inventory that they have and prepare for the turnover is something that we need to account for. So I think if we ask administration to kind of give us some guidelines or find out what other communities are doing, and also find out what ramifications the federal announcement had about single usage and straws and those issues and moving forward. So I think information is number one for us, and then number two is to get that information out to the public and the business community so they know not to reorder their bags in what time frame in what time frame they have to get rid of their current inventory.
Okay, so I think a great comment was made. So the first thing, rather than jumping into something without getting knowledge, is to sit down with our business community and have those discussions. So I think maybe through administration we can have the representatives from the chamber come and meet with us at our next council meeting to discuss what the opportunities are going forward and how we educate the public, if this is council's wish, to go forward with the elimination or reduction of these products in our community. So that's the first step. Then council got some time to, as Councillor Debuchy stated, that we can look at all the information, what's available out there, if there's any. Well, we know not if there is. There's a lot of provinces and communities out there that have eliminated these products already. So, and with the announcement of the federal government, we know that if there's a re-election of the Liberal government, by sound of it, they want to implement the reduce, and removal, and also the implication of deposits and manufacturers' responsibility to reuse these things by having a system, a stream that's being brought to our community, being brought back to this point of the distribution. So we can direct administration to arrange that. All fair? So I'd also ask council to ask, and we had a meeting earlier tonight. We were drinking out of the water bottles. If we eliminate the purchase of water balls from the municipality's point of view, so then municipality does not purchase any more water balls for use within the municipality's needs. Is that fair, council?
Just
No, it's council's direction, I think.
Does that pose a difficulty for administration that we're not?
Well, it doesn't pose a difficulty within the administrative building.
Right.
It'd be more challenging at the golf course.
Right. No, I'm talking
Certainly
about
we can look at that,
Yeah.
but over time, but at town hall?
at town hall.
Certainly we can
At town hall,
implement
for
that.
sure.
Not a
Because when you're selling a product to the consumer right now, they're still available to the consumer, so I don't see us implementing any restrictions on any of our facilities that we sell the products in. I'm talking about us purchasing these bottles.
Yeah,
We have a tap in our facility that we can bring a cup or utilize it that way. Is that fair? So we shouldn't see any more water bottles within the town's offices. in the future.
Unless you're reusing.
Well, yeah, your reusable plastic bottle, right? Which there are reusable plastics. Fair? Okay. So will that be the direction, and I'll give you a little highlight in regards to the discussions that happened in Dorian on my report. Up next, CO report on liquefied natural gas, Daryl.
So in 2016, the municipalities of Scriber, Terrace Bay, Marathon, Manitouwadge, and Wawa were successful in obtaining Northern Ontario Heritage Fund Corporation funding to complete a feasibility study to assess the tangible economic and social benefits and capacity building opportunities that would result if our region had expanded access to natural gas. Based on the work that was completed and its findings, the progressive decision was made to continue forward with this regionally transformative project. In 2018, the municipalities were once again successful in obtaining NOHFC funding to complete front-end engineering and design work and obtain all government, regulatory, and other third-party approvals, consents, and orders, as well as authorizations required to construct and operate the local distribution facilities and to deliver natural gas to customers. The municipalities are now in the final phases of completing the necessary work to submit the leave to construct application to the Ontario Energy Board, which is scheduled for submission in July of 2019. In total, there are currently 35 simultaneous activities and projects being undertaken to complete this work. The leave to construct approval is the necessary instrument required to construct the project. As part of the application, each municipality must pass through a bylaw the intention to enter into a model franchise agreement as prescribed by the OEB. In the case of the North Shore LNG project, there will be a local distribution company established to regulate and distribute the commodity. The necessary legal research and business planning is currently being undertaken with respect to this item. As an interim measure to ensure that the model franchise agreements can be approved by each municipality and submitted as required as part of the leave to construct application, the town's legal counsel is recommending that the Marathon Economic Development Corporation, for and on behalf of an entity be formed or corporation to be incorporated at a later date, serve as the placeholder as the gas company for the agreements at the current time. The model franchise agreement is the form of agreement that the OEB uses as a standard when considering applications under the Municipal Franchises Act. Once a leave to construct is approved, then the legally binding franchise agreements must be signed off by the appropriate parties. So the financial implications, there are none with respect to the application to the Ontario Energy Board, but with this phase of the project, the NOHFC is contributing $3.45 million, Northeast Midstream $2 million, and the municipalities have all committed $500,000. So your options are approve the model franchise agreement as presented and the supporting bylaw, or do not approve the agreement and the bylaw. And your administration recommends that option A be approved and that bylaw number 1956 be approved, authorizing the corporation of the town of Marathon to enter into a model franchise agreement with the Marathon Economic Development Corporation.
Okay, so I do have a motion here. The council hereby accepts the attached report and recommendation on liquefied natural gas project model franchise agreement and land, and further that the appropriate bylaw be adopted later this evening, authorizing the mayor and clerk to enter into such agreement. Moved by Councilor Lake, second by Councilor Debussy. Questions? Councilor Debussy.
This is one of the reasons we developed or formed the Marathon Economic Development Corporation. But am I understanding this is only Marathon's agreement with the the corporation, or are we through the Economic Development Corporation representing all the communities?
Yeah, so what'll happen at this phase of the project is all the municipalities, their bylaws, they will enter into the agreement with the Marathon Economic Development Corporation for the current time. Once we form the LDC, the local distribution company, and establish it under the Municipal Act, then the Marathon Economic Development Corporation then is removed from the agreements, and the new LDC corporation is inserted, and then each municipality has a legal relationship with that group, who is then the regulator of the commodity.
Councilor Lake.
Sorry, I think I got it. So the gas company will be centered in one of those communities and service all of the communities.
Correct, in some form or fashion. So the next phase of, once the leave to construct application is submitted, then the municipalities have to decide their level of participation within the LDC. Okay. So there is the opportunity that a municipality may choose not to enter into being a partner within the LDC, at which point they would simply purchase gas for their community. The LDC will actually be the regulator and distributor of the commodity, as well as handle things like customer service. They are the de facto business organization for the natural gas.
Councillor Debussy.
Just getting back to then, through your discussions with the other communities or through our mayor and other mayors, does it make viable sense then, instead of having 5 different mini corporations, to have it tabled under one blanket organization, and then they all purchase the power or the energy from them? That way, customer service is centralized and whatnot. And I think from moving forward in the discussion through the board or the corporation, maybe that should be a suggestion for an opportunity, I'll say, so that each community doesn't have to be their own service agent, their own maintenance agent and whatnot. So it's just a thought that we might want to move forward. And since that the Marathon Economic Development Corporation is named the gas company through this legal document, would it make sense for us to offer that service?
So there will only be one local distribution company,
Right.
Regardless of the number of municipalities that participate. And that's the reason why our legal counsel is recommending that the MEDC be the placeholder right now. So all the agreements will be standardized regardless of whether they're currently the MEDC and that application is submitted to the OEB. And then when the LDC is formed, it's just a simple switch out of the placeholder names.
Councillor Ballas.
What kind of time frame would that look like for the switchover from economic development or the Marathon Economic Development Corporation to the LDC?
Yeah, so the goal is to have that established by December of 2019.
So I got a couple key questions, and you made one comment in regards to financial implications. The municipality is $500,000. That's $100,000 each.
That's correct.
Not $500,000. So for clarity, at home, that's $100,000.
And it was
each.
approved in last year's
We-
budget.
We've already committed that
Correct.
monies, so this is already money that's been spent. My second part of that question is in regards to the makeup of the LDC and the governance of the LDC. Who is the governing bodies? Obviously, each municipality is going to be a board of directors created there, and then they'll be run through that.
There will be a board, and those are a lot of the iterations that we're going to be going through over the next 6 months to establish what ultimately the best structure for this LDC is. Each municipality would be represented on the board of directors. It's a prescribed through the Municipal Act, no different than an Economic Development Corporation is in terms of a local utility. And we'll have to establish all the rules and regulations around how board members are appointed, skills requires, et cetera. So it's a complete business plan that has to be completed for the establishment of the LDC. And that'll, like I said, the goal is to have that in place by December 2019.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, with that being said, I'll call a question. All in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay, up next we have a report on the Marathon District Historical Society Museum Building lease.
So thank you. The Marathon Museum building, lease expired on December 31st of 2018. With that, administration is once again recommending a lease renewal for a 5-year term. Under the terms of the current lease and the new lease proposed, the tenant is responsible for all utilities and for maintenance of the building interior. The town is responsible for maintenance of the exterior roof, foundation, and the parking lot, as we own the building and the associated parking lot. As with previous agreements, the lease has been offered to the museum board for rent of $1 per year, and your options are A, approve the lease as presented, B, modify the lease, or C, do not approve the lease at this time. And your administration recommends that option A be approved and that the town enter into a lease agreement with the Marathon Museum and Historical Society for the lease of the museum building for the next 5 years.
So I do have a motion here for that. The council hereby accepts the attached report and recommendation on the Marathon District Historical Society Museum Building lease, and for that appropriate bylaw be adopted later this evening and authorizing the mayor and clerk to enter into agreement with such. Moved by Councilor Lake, second by Councilor Debussy. Questions? Councilor Lake.
I'm trying to recall my time in the museum board, but I think the roof was done recently. Are there any kind of expected costs in that 5-year window that are looming, or are we feeling pretty good about the building for the next 5 years?
Yeah, there's nothing overly substantial. We do try and upkeep our buildings on a regular basis. I do believe in 2018 we did the soffit and the fascia on the building.
Doors.
The doors and maybe the windows. So we do try and include a regular maintenance item on a yearly basis.
Yeah, it's in good shape. Anything else? Okay, with that being said, I'll call a question. All in favor? Carried, thank you. Report on Nextbridge land use agreements. Daryl.
So on January 30th, 2019, the Government of Ontario issued an order in council and directive designating Nextbridge as the transmitter with exclusive right to proceed to construct the east-west tie transmission line project. Based on Nextbridge being granted the order in council, the Ontario Energy Board has granted Nextbridge a leave to construct for the project, as well as the form of land agreements to be utilized to engage with affected property owners. Nextbridge has reached out to administration as there are a number of land use agreements and easements that will require municipal approval for Nextbridge to construct on municipally owned property. The affected properties are listed in the following table, and you'll see they're a combination of transmission line as well as temporary access roads. Administration and Nextbridge have negotiated and agreed upon 9 separate necessary agreements for the affected properties for a 5-year term. The listed properties are not properties that are currently utilized nor envisioned to be utilized by the municipality for any planned purposes. The town's legal counsel has reviewed and vetted the agreements. Financial implications. The signing of the Nextbridge agreements will result in one-time revenue of $22,500. That's included in the 5-year term. It's not annually. That is the amount for 5 years. Options A, approve the Nextbridge agreements as presented in the supporting bylaw, or B, do not approve the agreements and the bylaw. The administration recommends that option A be approved and that bylaw number 1957 be approved, authorizing the corporation of the town of Marathon to enter into land use agreements with Nextbridge.
Thank you for that report. Do I have a motion here that council hereby accepts the attached report and recommendation on Nextbridge land use agreements, and further that the appropriate bylaw be adopted later this evening, authorizing the mayor and clerk to enter such agreement. Moved by Council Lake, second by Council Bushi. Questions? Council Lake.
So the land that's being worked on right beside the station up on Peninsula Road, is that the sort of activity we expect, that size of activity on municipal property, or is that bigger than we're going to see kind of in the expansion process? Because it's a much bigger clearing than I had expected. I don't know if that's municipal property or their property, but is that what we can expect throughout the municipality?
No, so there's 2 differences. So the project that Councillor Lake is referring to is a Hydro One project. That is the expansion of the current substation to handle the load on the new line. That is not municipally owned property. That was Crown land within municipal boundaries. They had the appropriate permits and approvals to purchase that property. Nextbridge is looking to utilize really the current, so all these properties that they're referencing are to the west of us. So think of, out towards Sturdy Cove where the existing transmission line already is. And the majority of the build in our area is going to follow the existing transportation or the transmission line corridor. So fundamentally, there's actually very little land disturbance for our area. But because it is our land, they need access. They need permission from us to access it.
So just to clarify then, that's not what we're going to see
No.
in other sites around the municipality. Thank you.
Anything else? Council Bushi.
Because there's temporary road accesses, and I'm gathering they're either coming off highways or municipal lands, it won't interfere with traffic flows or anything like that, or it'll be well marked as trucks entering in.
Yeah, and to the west of us, the majority of the roads they're going to utilize are already in existence. So Sturdy Cove would be an example. They're gonna, they'll beef that road up to access the transmission line from there. So certainly those will be all welled out, or well laid out in advance of any construction activity.
Okay, good. Sure.
I just, like when I think of that Sturdy Cove Road, I know lots of people that go down there bird hunting. Will there be a kind of no hunting policy in some of those areas now, or?
Yeah, that's actually a good question. We haven't actually seen the construction plan, but certainly it's a question we can go back and ask Nextbridge, where they're using traditional transportation corridors. Will those areas be impacted for things like hunting and fishing? So we'll take that back, absolutely.
Okay, good. With that being said, I call a question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, up next we have report on municipal policy review, travel expenses. Good evening, Mr. Verbal.
Evening, Mayor and Council. The policy of travel expenses for staff and members of council, which is Finance Policy Number 3, was last reviewed in 2015. Since 2012, the policy has had the amount paid for mileage at 74 cents per kilometer. 47, sorry. The recent price increase at the pump highlights the volatility of fuel prices. A recent survey of municipalities in Northern Ontario revealed that many communities are using the automobile allowance rate published annually by the Canada Revenue Agency. In 2018, that rate was 55 cents per kilometer. In 2019, the rate was increased to 58 cents. It's been recommended that the town of Marathon incorporate this source into the travel expenses policy, thereby removing the need to review the policy on a more frequent basis. Having a published rate from the federal government also does away with the randomness of the current rate. Overall, the proposed revision should not impact the budget significantly. So the options are to approve Finance Policy Number 3 as presented, or approve the policy with additional alternative revisions. Administration recommends that option A be selected and that the policy for travel expenses for staff and members of council be approved as presented, and further that this policy be included in the town's policy guideline manual.
Thank you for the report. Do I have a motion that council hereby accepts the attached report and recommendation on municipal policy review, travel expenses FI 0003, and that the policy FI 0003, travel expenses for staff and members of council, be approved as presented, and further that a copy of this policy be placed in the town's policy guideline manual. Moved by Councilor Valens, second by Councilor Lake. Questions? So I do have one. So we have a policy already in regards to vehicle use for administration as well as council, that the first choice of use for vehicle is to take the administration vehicle when you're going off to meetings, if available. Or you can choose to take your own vehicle at any time you please, but you only get the gasoline cost.
Correct.
So we continue to monitor that, and I know there was incidents where council was traveling separately and just for convenience, but we all have to take into consideration we're using taxpayers' dollars to go to these meetings. So just if you use your own vehicle, you get gas. If you take the administration vehicle, it's covered by the municipality's policy. And if by other means, if you're not available for either administration vehicle, you take your own personal vehicle and you charge for kilometers. So we have very little charge for kilometers, but we just have to reinforce those policies with all of our peoples.
And if need be, there's also additional works operation trucks that can be used also.
Right. I'm not a big proponent of traveling with the trucks on the winter
Correct.
roads because they're not suitable. The administration vehicle, by all means. You still can take your own personal vehicle by choice.
Yep.
But you get the gas rather than the kilometers. It just keeps our overall budget in check. Councilor Lake.
Right, I just wanted to
Clarify one other point, and I think it's in there. If you're, say, traveling to Toronto and you decide to take a vehicle, it's, if the economy airfare is lower, that's what you're reimbursed, right?
Right.
Correct.
So that keeps people from.
Absolutely.
like,
Oh, yeah,
another
the
way.
policy's in check for that
Okay.
too as well.
Yeah.
You're entitled to take your own vehicle anywhere you like to, but there's clear indication of what you do receive for those travel costs. I just keeping the budget in check, and we are spending taxpayers' money, so. Okay, thank you for that report. Moved by Councilor Valens, second by Councilor Lake. All in favor? Carried, thank you. Up next, report on 2000 final levy of taxes.
So on April 23rd this year, the 2019 budget was approved with bylaw 1950. Last council meeting on May 27th, the tax ratios for 2019 were passed with bylaw 1952. A bylaw is now required specifying the property tax rate per class. The rates are attached as Schedule A. The financial implications are outlined in the 2019 final levy of taxes. So the options are approve the rates as presented or approve the 2019 final levy of taxes with amendments. Administration recommends that option A be approved and that the bylaw 1954 adopting the 2019 final levy of taxes be approved as presented.
Good, thanks for the report. Do you have a motion that council hereby accepts the attached report and recommendation on 2019 final levy of taxes, and further that the appropriate bylaw be adopted later this evening, approving the 2019 final levy of taxes. Moved by Councilor DeBoucher, second by Councilor Lake. Questions? Hearing none, call question. All in favor? Good, thank you. Okay, we have some bylaws to adopt. Actually, under the reports first, we'll go to the verbal reports for appointed members of boards and committees. So in regards to the single-use bag discussion at our Thunder Bay District Municipal League meeting on Saturday, June 8th in Dorian, we discussed this, and many municipalities were in attendance. Obviously, there's 18 of us within the Thunder Bay District. They everybody there was in supportive of the concept of looking at somehow reducing, removing, educating in regards to these single-use plastic bags, as well as other things. We talked about deposits and removal of these type of things within our communities. This is something that's just preliminary discussion. That took about a good half an hour, 45 minutes. We did commit to, each member was going to try to find out for some keynote information from various municipalities. Mayor Harvey out of Nipigon had just come back from the Lake Superior Binational Forum. He has an individual that might be interested in coming and talking about the plastics in our waterways that affect our fish in Lake Superior specifically, caused from not only plastic bags but other plastic particles that's in our products every day. Rebecca Johnson out of Thunder Bay committed to having one of her team members from the environmental committee in Thunder Bay to come and discuss. There were also other individuals who were going to get information from certain peoples and talk to whether provincial or federal level of governments for environmental offices to come and have discussion with the board in October at our AGM. So the ball is rolling, as we discussed a little earlier with our municipalities, getting information, talking to various key stakeholders within the community, and looking at how we can implement something over the next 6 months to a year process. It's not now we're going to jump into right away, but at least having a good opportunity for discussion and education. So there was other things on the agenda as well in regards to what's happening around the district. The Thunder Bay District Municipal League's AGM coming up in October. Some of the key points we want to see on that agenda as well were discussed. So we will go forward with that. Our next board meeting will be in September. Prior to that, May 29th and 30th, I attended a session which was, I guess, did get some media attention, not as much as we wished it would. We did a information protest on the Nipigon River Bridge, where we slowed traffic to basically an idle or stop to hand out information pamphlets about the caribou recovery plan that the provincial and federal governments are trying to implement, and along the coastal part of Lake Superior continuous zone. There's a huge impact to all of us within the district and our whole Lake Superior coastal line, as well as the Nipigon Greenstone areas in regards to the roads that would be taken out of commission. So there was a very big presence of First Nations and municipal leaders at the protest. There wasn't as many people as I wish there was at the actual event, but that's okay. We did get some traction. We then received information from both Minister Yakubuski and Phillips in regards to having an extended period of time for consultation and discussions around the implementation of any type of impacts within our neighborhood, as well as opportunity to meet with them in discussions of more of this caribou plan. So we'll see what happens out of that. That'll be taking place in sometime July, and then go from there. So there has been more opportunities for discussion and more opportunity to meet with ministers and discuss the impacts. That's good. So we got some information out there. I then attended a Moose session at Thunder Bay that evening in Moose learning and lessons in regards to the Moose management plan that there's a big game hunter association through the Anglers and Hunters, I believe, as well as the ministry out of Peterborough. So I attended the meeting. I had the pamphlets from the bridge. I was passing them out. A couple of members from the ministry come up to me and asked me who I was, what I was doing there. And I basically said I'm the mayor of Marathon, and we were at a protest on the bridge and discussing the caribou plan that the federal and provincial governments are implementing. These individuals were from Peterborough and really didn't have a clue about the caribou recovery plan that we were talking about. And they're from Peterborough. Like, they're talking about moose. And if you look at the map, they talk about the moose density. They want to have medium to low density in our part of the world where there is moose, and then they want to have medium to high density in the Peterborough area. And that's just two I'm using for example because it just didn't make sense to me. So you got our area was traditionally a moose and bear and wolf area, not so much caribou, and I don't know if they two have connection, but we believe they do. Then you have Peterborough area that really you wouldn't expect to be a moose area, that they want to have medium to high density of moose, so it's kind of unique. Anyway, I started passing out the pamphlets to all the moose hunters there and told them that you wouldn't be moose hunting in the future if this caribou plan goes forward, and they had no clue of it either. So I got the information out to all those moose hunters, and they got their ear, and I think there was good dialogue after that amongst them. So that'll be impact more than anything, and so the moose hunters really took stride in this information, because they will not have access to their moose hunting roads if the caribou recovery plan goes in place. So we're getting some traction in that regard, so it was good. So both the single-use plastic bags as well as the caribou things were successful. Excuse me. And I think we heard from our meeting previous to council tonight with the Bitagon Anishinaabe Council and Chief, was if the more you work together, the louder your voice will be heard in the province, and I think that's the key. So here you had all the First Nations and all the municipal leaders working together and bringing the message to the provincial government, and it seems to get somebody's ear, so it's good. So that was it for me. Councillor Valance in regards to the Marathon Business Awards.
All right, bear with me right quick, and I apologize for reading off my smartphone. But so this past Saturday, June 8th, 2019, nearly 140 people joined together at the Loyal Order of Moose for the Marathon and District Chamber of Commerce 5th Business Awards and Gala to celebrate 150 nominations, recognize over 50 nominees, and for the unveiling of the awards across 9 different categories. A surprise 10th award was announced for the inaugural Legacy Award, as the Marathon and District Chamber of Commerce felt that with the town of Marathon celebrating their 75th anniversary this year, it was fitting to introduce a special award that celebrates a business, organization, or individual that has made a long-lasting impact on our community and its residents. So, with that being said, congratulations to the 2019 award recipients. Community Spirit Support Award went to IG Wealth Management. Volunteer of the Year Award went to Stan Johnson. The Business Enhancement Award was awarded to the Marathon Peninsula Manor Senior Supportive Living Complex. Business Excellence Award was Crossover Video and Games. Young Professional of the Year Award went to Dana Bobrowski Lowndes. The Not-for-Profit Excellence Award was awarded to the Marjorie House. Entrepreneur of the Year was Amber Chenier, Registered Masseuse Therapy. Employee Satisfaction Award was Scotia Bank. Customer Service Award went to Crossover Video Games again. And the winner of the inaugural Legacy Award was the Marathon Mercury Printers Ltd. So congratulations to all the nominees and this year's award recipients. In some shape or form, you have all contributed to the growth, development, and quality of our life in our town, and we thank you for all that you do. Thank you to the generous sponsors who contributed to the success of this event. We could not have done it without your support, and we greatly appreciate your ongoing contributions to the Marathon Chamber. The 5th Annual Business Awards is proudly supported by our Platinum level sponsors, Barrick Gold, Fountain Tire, and Valid Construction. Gold level sponsors, Northwest Employment Works, Erickson's LLP, Spadoni Motors Marathon, Sherrard's Your Independent Grocer, Scotiabank, 0100 Motor Inn, and Canadian Tire. Silver level sponsors, Suki Chiropractic Plus, Crossover Video and Game, Lafarge Canada, Pizza Hut, Lynn Gray Bookkeeper for You, Station 4 on the North Shore, and NFMC. And I like to list them all because we do very much appreciate all the contributions from our local entrepreneurs and business community. So the bronze sponsors were Allure Hair and Beauty, Amber Chenier RMT, Atlas Fitness, Beautiful You Aesthetics, Crossover Video and Games, Days Inn Suites, Thunder Bay, Aaron's Custom Cakes, IG Wealth Management, Casper Transportation, Marathon IDA Pharmacy, Northwest Employment Works, Confederation College, Town of Marathon, the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 183, Serendipity Gardens Cafe and Guest House, Northwest Tech, and JC Photo. And lastly, a huge thank you to Al Cresswell for being our great master of ceremonies and auctioneer for this year's gala and auction. Lastly, the last thing the Chamber of Commerce would like me to make an announcement on is the keychains that unlock local promotions throughout the 75th anniversary. So they're for $5, on sale right now for $5, and can be purchased at Spadoni Motors Marathon or Northwest Employment Works. So again, thank you to everyone and congratulations.
Good. Yeah, thank you very much. A very good evening, and I want to hats off to all the volunteers and organizers of that event, because it is what brings the community together, and especially the local business community. So it was a really good night, and yeah, Al did an excellent job there. Okay, so we got some bylaws. So bylaw number 1954, bylaw to adopt the final levy of taxes in the year of 2019 for the corporation and collection of said taxes. We read it first and second time this 10th day of June 2019. Moved by Councillor Lake, second by Councillor Valance. Questions? Hearing none, I call a question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Bylaw number 1955, being a bylaw to authorize the Corporation of Town of Marathon to enter a lease agreement with the Marathon District Chamber of Commerce, Marathon District Historical Society. Thanks for the Chamber of Commerce. I don't think they need a lease for this. District Historical Society for the rental of the museum building. It's to be read a first and second time this 10th day of June 2019. Moved by Councillor Tabushi, second by Councillor Valance. Any questions of that motion and bylaw? Hearing none, call question, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Bylaw number 1956, being a bylaw to authorize the Corporation Town of Marathon to enter into a model franchise agreement with the Marathon Economic Development Corporation for liquefied natural gas LNG project to be read a first and second time this 10th day of June 2019. Moved by Councilor Lake, second by Councilor DeBouchy. Any questions of that bylaw? Hearing none, call a question, all in favor? Great, thank you. And of course, bylaw number 1957, being bylaw to authorize Corporation Town of Marathon into land use agreement with Nextbridge for the east-west tie transmission line project to be read the first, second time this 10th day of June 2019. Moved by Councilor Lake, second by Councilor Valens. Any questions of that bylaw? Hearing none, call a question, all in favor? Carried, thank you. And lastly, the bylaw number 1954, 1955, 1956, and 1957 be read a third time and finally passed this 10th day of June 2019. Moved by Councilor Valens, second by Councilor Lake. Any questions, errors, omissions on those ones? All in favor? Thank you. So prior to adjournment, we have a few announcements in regards to the municipality that obviously we won't be meeting, I don't think, before the 23rd, will we be? No.
We have a regular council meeting on June 24th.
On the Monday, yeah, so,
Yeah.
but the actual 75th anniversary celebration start on the 23rd at Penn Lake Park. So you'll obviously see lots of advertising, Serena, correct, all around through the town, on the radio, in the paper, and there'll be all kinds of information about the week-long festivities for the 75th anniversary celebration. But it starts at Penn Lake on the 23rd of June, 2019. Councilor DeBouchy had a quick comment.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just to note, the Marathon Museum will be hosting a meet and greet dance at the Legion on the 22nd. So if any visitors are in town, they're welcome to attend. And obviously, residents are also welcome to attend to start off the celebrations for the 75th anniversary. Thank you.
Okay, good, thank you. So prior to adjournment, we will be going to an in-camera meeting following this open session to discuss issues around identifiable individual, including municipal local board employees. So with that being said, I'll call the meeting adjourned at the hour of 7:45 p.m. Moved by Councilor Lake, second by Councilor Valens. Thank you and have a good night.